Well, on our last episode, we took you back in time when Bicknell's own Dave Hunter started his career in broadcasting inside the White House as part of President Johnson's communication team. Fast forward to today, and Hunter now has more than 5 decades of professional experience in the field. In our second part of this special story, reporter Hunter Van Houten takes us through the local legend's journey as the voice of the VU Trailblazers.
Again in front of the Lakeland bench, Caleb in down the ball. Drops it into Bonsu. Bonsu will take it to the
For over 4 decades now, Dave Hunter's iconic voice has called game after game for the Vincennes University men's basketball team. His love for basketball started at a young age, but he was never able to make it on the court. But that didn't stop him from being a part of the game.
I mean, I was every star of the era on my driveway when I was growing up. And through high school, I didn't play high school basketball. I was the last guy cut my senior year on the team. And the coach asked me if I wanted to do statistics for the team, which I said, sure. I wanted to play so bad. If he had given me a jersey and said, here, you can sit on the bench, but you'll never get in the game, I would have gladly taken it because I just wanted to be on the team.
The idea never occurred to Hunter that he could get into sports broadcasting until he spent his time at the White House Communications Agency. His career in sports broadcasting began nearly 50 years ago when he took a job in 1972 at WAOV. Then Hunter began to delve into high school games and sat down with no experience, learning as he went. Luckily, he wasn't alone when he started.
The late Don Skinner, who was the guidance director at North Knox, he was actually my high school principal at Bicknell in 1961. And later I worked with him on broadcasts because he still, although he was still a school administrator, he did games for the radio stations. And then my late friend Randy Westphal, who passed away last summer, those two guys, we did hundreds of games together. Sometimes the 3 of us, sometimes just 2 of us. And we traveled together, became good friends. They were connoisseurs of basketball. They loved sports, and so, you know, those guys always meant a lot to me.
One thing Hunter started early on was interviewing coaches before the game, during halftime, and postgame. He says normally everyone would go out and smoke, but since Hunter didn't, he thought he'd spend that time furthering his craft.
When I started, coaches weren't used to being interviewed, and I started doing that, doing pregame interviews, halftime interviews, post-game interviews, and over the years, I've fortunately developed a rapport with a lot of coaches in the business where it's easy to talk to them, but I never assume they have an obligation to talk to me. I always put it in the context of, I'd like to do an interview at your convenience, and I always do the interviews before the day of the game if I can, because it's much more relaxed. You get more information. They're not on edge thinking about the next couple of hours when you get there.
Into the middle, ball knocked loose. Look at those quick hands getting in from Sean Marion.
According to Hunter, the best player he's seen on the Trailblazer court was Sean Marion. Marion, a 2-time junior college All-American selection, played for VU from 1996 to 98, finishing his career as a second all-time scorer. Hunter recalls a bus crash on the way to a game that impacted Marion's chances to break the record.
In 1998, we were on the way to Kankakee to play a game, and the driver pulled out in front of a pickup truck, which collided with the bus. Because of the wreck, we didn't get to play that game. It was not rescheduled. Marion ended up with 1,685 points, second on our all-time list behind the late Jerome Brewer, who scored 1,700 points. Had we played the game against Kankakee, Marion almost certainly would have scored 16 points and would have been the all-time leading scorer. So that accident prevented him, and he wasn't hurt in the accident, but that prevented him from getting to pass the 1,700 point barrier, which would have made him the #1 all-time scorer.
After spending so much time as a sports announcer, Hunter has a wealth of knowledge and experience he wants to pass on to the younger generations. His advice to young aspiring sports broadcasters is to prepare as much as possible.
One of the things my military service taught me was that you've got to be prepared to do the job way in advance. So I probably spend 4 to 5 hours before every broadcast preparing, putting together statistics, rosters, information I may or may not. I may not even use any of it on the broadcast, but I have a game book that's this thick for every single game. It has game preparation, historical data, anything I can refer to make the broadcast more interesting.
Hunter says as soon as he finishes announcing one game, he doesn't go to bed until he is ready for the next one. He also doesn't go into the game with catchphrases. Spontaneous is how Hunter wants to sound as he tries to carry the action so the listener can picture what he's portraying. After 51 years in the industry, Hunter says he wouldn't change a thing.
And over the last 51 years, I've enjoyed it so much and stayed with it. I retired as VU Sports Information Director in 2008, thinking I would do it one more year.
Until that year comes, Dave Hunter will be live at every Vincennes University men's basketball game. For First City Focus, I'm Hunter Van Houten.
And of course, you can catch Dave Hunter's call of the game during what is now his 41st season with the VU Trailblazers on our sister station, Blazer 91.1 WVUB.